Good morning. Welcome to a special Saturday edition of Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn. Minicamp is next week. They canceled the last week of OTAs. They moved up minicamp. I'm a curmudgeon because I'm 35 years old, but I feel like I'm 80 at heart. And so anytime the Niners do anything, I'm like, here we go again. So they've been doing this like 2 years in a row. And other thing they've been doing for 2 years in a row is starting slow. I don't know. If you want to have a good September, maybe like fewer practices isn't the answer. But that's just me. Larry, how you doing? You look great on this Saturday morning.
Oh, man, feeling good. Feeling good. No,
Good.
Great Saturday weather, man. I love our May and June weather. It's incredible.
Nice.
Yeah, that was weird. It's weird. It's almost like either they got more done than they wanted to get done, or they're concerned about injury, or they just want to get on with vacation. I don't know, because, let's be honest.
The last two. Probably the last two.
Talking to some of the coaches, one of the things that, we don't really realize, or, football fans may not realize, is that it is a freaking grind from July through June. I mean, it's like July through June 1st. I mean, and then these guys will be like, if you try to get a hold of a Niner coach between June and camp, like let's say as soon as this next round of mandatory, practices are done, these guys are on a jet to Mexico, Hawaii, wherever. This is the family
decompress.
Time. They're going to take. They're going to be off
for the players
grid.
too.
Yeah, so
for
maybe they just want to speed that up and give. Maybe, I mean, heck, if I had a staff of guys that were grinding every day all season long, and then immediately into the combine and draft prep and all that, and then all of a sudden OTAs and getting everything ready and mandatory mini camp. You know what? I would say, guys, you know what? I'm doing you all a solid, and I'm giving you an extra. What the result of this means? What, an extra week to 10 days of off time, maybe?
Here's what I would do. I respect that, but at the same time, you're trying to win a Super Bowl, so I would pose it as a question if I were the head coach of the team. What do you guys want to do? I'll cancel the last week of OTAs. We'll move mini camp up. We'll take an extra week of vacation, or we can grind. Who wants to win a Super Bowl? Raise your hand. What do you guys want to do? You call it. If you guys want to work less, we'll work less. You guys want to work more, we'll work more. I don't know. Christian McCaffrey's out there working. I don't think he asked. I don't know. I'm just saying, man, you're this close to winning the Super Bowl. Grind. Do something better. More. I don't know. I'm taking the day off today. I'm chilling. I'm not working out.
It's one of those things where I can see it both ways. I can see it both ways. I can see where, hey, look, this regime hasn't gotten it done yet. In their mind, getting it done is winning the Super Bowl. They haven't achieved that goal. Let's grind. But on the other hand, you know what? Maybe you get less out of your players and less out of your coaches if you don't give them a month to make the wife
40
happy,
games the last 2 years.
Kids happy. Yeah, I mean they're some. Yeah, it's another one. I didn't even think about that, but you're right. Some teams finish up in December. Niners are going some years till February. So
it's a tough one. All right, let's talk about these coaching interviews from a couple of days ago. Very interesting because they're informal in the sense like the Niners don't put them on their website. They don't transcribe them. They don't put the audio, don't put the video. It's almost like they didn't happen.
Right.
We put the video on our website, and then the Niners politely asked us to take it down after 24 hours, which is sort of like a league rule that they invoke very rarely. So for whatever reason, the Niners wanted us to talk to their position coaches, but didn't want anyone to know about it, which is just super strange. So I guess now that it's a rumor that you can't even find those interviews if you wanted to. Now it's a rumor. Let's talk about our impressions of the interviews that never happened. What stood out to you that day?
I don't even know that I heard anything. I see nothing. I hear nothing.
What was so?
That's a great question. I mean, it's funny. We should compare notes and go through and say, what was the most revealing quote that you got? What was the most revealing quote that I got? I would say probably when I asked Brian Greasy about Brock, he was like, hey, he kept saying, and he said it 2 or 3 times, there's a reason we drafted this guy. There's a reason we drafted this guy. And so that's interesting. And when I
saw it a different way. Go
ahead.
I thought he was not particularly enthusiastic about Brock. I thought he was giving Brock backhanded compliments. We didn't.
Just for full disclosure, you were in the group.
I was there first. I was there first.
And there were a lot more people around. I was
that's
there
true. He talked for a while.
Branch and Barrows, and we didn't talk specifically that much about Brock. But go ahead. What did you? Because I wasn't there for your sit down with him. What did he say about Brock?
So I asked the first question of the interview, and it's about Sam, and he really lays it on thick with Sam. Like basically, here's what I have the quotes right here. I transcribed them. With Sam, he says, "I think everybody that knows football or watches football can see the skill set that Sam has. To me, it was about, can we give him the structure and stability upon which that he can see how good of a player he can be. I think that our system, our offense, it's tailor-suited to a quarterback coming in and finding their footing and getting stability," which is just a hilarious thing. Like, what about Trey Lance? What are you talking about? Oh, but Darnold is going to come in. So he's all in with Darnold. Anyone that knows football can see the skill set. Then the next question's about Brock. This is from Tracy Sandler. She says, how unusual was it for someone in Brock's position to come in so developed? And Greasy goes, well, Brock has a lot of work to do. He had an unbelievable year, and he's like trying to give him credit, but then go into all the stuff he needs to do to get, because I think he's pushing back on the notion that Brock was developed. Like, no, Brock is not developed. I coached him, and we need to keep coaching him. So he keeps going. Tracy clarifies. She says, no, I mean more like the mental and emotional tools. And Greasy goes, he has a very even demeanor, gives him all the credit for dealing with pressure and handling a veteran huddle. But then he says, he's had an unbelievable start to his career. Now there's a lot of things that Brock can and needs to get better at for this team to go where he wants to go, where we want to go. Brock and I, we've had that conversation. He's the first one to tell you, and that's normal for a young player. I'm excited to get him back. To me, it just feels like he's a little arrogant. Like, hey man, if we can do what we did with Brock, who frankly doesn't have the most overwhelming skill set, but he's poised, look what we can do with Sam Darnold. It's like, okay, wait a second. I think you're underselling Brock here. I think you're overselling Sam. And what about Trey? Like, didn't you get hired to coach Trey? It was that all felt a little strange to me. The whole Brian Greasy love fest for Sam Darnold.
Do you have anything that he said about Trey and your guys? Yeah. What did he say about Trey?
So when asked about Trey, he kept talking about how proud he is that he didn't get too down and depressed after he got hurt and he stuck around the team. That's all he would say about Trey. Really proud of him, man. Really proud. He wasn't able to really accomplish anything on the field, but he accomplished something off the field. It was like really patronizing. Really patronizing.
To me, the lane that when he was asked about Trey with us, and I don't think it was my question, or maybe it was my question. He basically stuck to
he was hurt. He was hurt.
No. He went to the he didn't. He stayed with it. He's working hard. He's staying with the. It seems like they're really committed on the let's
good
talk
guy.
Up the person. But nothing about
it,
nothing about his throw, nothing about his football, nothing about his development as a player. It's all about, man, he's really, credit him, he's put in the work.
He also didn't want to talk about the Jeff Christensen stuff. Like David Lombardi brought that up, and he was like, we talked to him about mechanics, a lot of things, but at the same time, you kind of just throw how you throw. It's like, so I think he was a little defensive about the fact that, like, hey, whatever you've been doing with Trey hasn't been working, and he had to go to Jeff Christensen, and now you're like going to try to maintain what Christensen had been working on. He didn't want to talk about that. He really had nothing nice to, and it's like he has all these nice things to say about Sam Darnold. Oh, anyone can see the skill set. He just needs an environment that we have, and it's going to work. Like, what about Trey? Trey has a good skill set. You guys traded up for Trey. You guys have the environment. So if it's not working out for Trey, why is it just going to all of a sudden work out for Sam? He didn't put two and two together. And again, all he wanted to talk about with Brock was all the work Brock needs to do. Like, yeah, he's really good at, escaping pressure, but he really needs to work on rhythm and timing from the pocket. It's like, okay, Brian, like, I don't know. I saw you play quarterback, and I saw Brock Purdy play quarterback, and Brock Purdy was better than you. So why don't you be a little bit more enthusiastic, Brian? I don't like Brian. Brian Greasy rubs me the wrong way. I'm so sorry, dude. Well, it's like he's dabbling in coaching. Is he even going to be here next year? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, okay, I'll give you my read on those things. One, on the Darnold, I kind of agree that a lot of Darnold's, a huge percentage of Darnold's turnovers have come on the Jets when he was behind, fourth quarter, trying to make something happen, and he's turning it over. And maybe if he's not in that situation, maybe his numbers look a little bit better. And he has thrown the ball well. But I mean,
wasn't he turning it over at USC though? I mean, they were winning.
Turn it over a lot at USC.
That's what
he
I'm saying.
Turn it over a lot at USC.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's why I'm not a big Darnold guy personally.
Yeah, me too.
I see a pattern of turnovers
Since college.
Turnovers beget turnovers, in my
Thank you.
opinion. It's kind of like
Thank
some
you.
things translate. I think sack
Yeah.
production, interception
I agree.
production, it translates. But guess what? Interceptions also, I think, come travel with you. You're not going to turn it over a ton at SC and throw tons of picks, get into the NFL, and that's totally gone. But I do see there's upside potential on a much better team for Darnold, and Darnold does throw it well. Maybe with Purdy, he's just trying to dangle the carrot like, hey, you know what? This guy's not a star yet. This guy needs a lot of development. And, I'm going to basically be the guy who's going to be in charge of developing him. So let's all pump the brakes on the Brock's arrived notion or idea. He's slapping that down because he's a teacher and they're getting ready to go to school. That's the way I look at it.
Also, I think he kind of admitted that the Niners and him don't really coach quarterbacks directly, in the sense like Trey's the wrong quarterback for them. He needs direct coaching on accuracy and mechanics and stuff. And like, they don't have that coach. They don't have the Bobby Turner of quarterbacks or the Chris Forrester of quarterbacks or the Chris Kasarik of quarterbacks. Their way of making a quarterback better is coaching him indirectly, giving him a running back, right? Giving him Christian McCaffrey, giving him a defense, giving him a scheme. And that's what they're banking on with Darnold. Like, hey, he can throw. We don't have to teach him how to throw. All we need to do is give him a good environment, because that's all we can do. We can't teach Trey. We brought in this project, and frankly, none of us know what to do with him. We're the wrong. That's basically what I'm hearing from Greasy. Like, I don't know how to coach this guy, but thankfully, we don't have to coach Darnold. We just have to give Darnold a better environment, to which I say, baloney. Well, but we'll see.
It's all gonna, the beauty of this whole thing is there ain't no hiding come July and August, right? You either do or you don't, and you either step up and do it. But it is, to me, it's discouraging to hear, you throw the way you throw, because when they drafted a kid who had 1 year of experience since high school, it was, you can read the reports of Lance Zierlein and others. I took out the report from the guy from The Athletic, Dane Brugler, and it says right there, black and white print, hey, this is somewhat of an unprecedented evaluation. He's somewhat of an unprecedented prospect, and you better have patience. And what it didn't say there, but it's obvious, is that you better be able to develop him and bring him along. And do they have the Mike Holmgren on staff to bring him from A to B to C to D to get him there? Or are they going to get off this train and then watch some other quarterback coach step in and maybe develop Trey into something? But I don't like hearing the way you throw is the way you throw, because this kid needs to, this young man needs to evolve and needs to grow, and that's through reps, but it's also through refinement. And I think that's probably what he's getting from Christensen. And it sounds like,
and not getting from Greasy.
Well, if you're the teacher, and all of a sudden, your students are progressing in the summertime when they go to a tutor, and you're teaching them for 9 months, but man, they progress like crazy in 3 weeks with this tutor. I think the obvious points back at you going, how could he develop for 3 weeks well?
Thank you.
And he didn't develop for 9 months well.
Thank you.
And so there's a little like, I think everybody's kind of battling for position under the boards on this one.
Yeah. And look, like, let's just back up. So Greasy was brought in last year when the idea was this is Trey's team. He's the future. I mean, they did these interviews last year. My Brian Greasy interview is still up. They didn't have an issue with him talking last year. Last year, he literally said that he didn't study Trey Lance before he got the job, that he had 2 to 3 days to make a decision. Like, they fast-tracked him into this job. He'd never been a coach before in his life. I don't understand why they hired him. I mean, I'm sure he does certain things well, but he has no history coaching, and he didn't know the first thing about Lance when they hired him. So it's like, he's not here for Lance. He's here to learn Kyle's system and maybe become an offensive coordinator somewhere and be part of his tree. I don't even get it. But if you wanted Trey Lance to work, you should have brought in the best quarterback coach you could find, someone with a track record of success like Bobby Turner has, like Chris Kasarik has, like Johnny Holland has. Like, where is that guy? You don't have him. You have Clint Kubiak, who's 37. You have Clay Kubiak, who's like 31, and Brian Greasy, a first year. And so that's why he gravitates to guys like Purdy. He's like Purdy. Nothing Purdy's better than him. But that's a guy he can identify with. He can't identify with Trey Lance. How can he help Trey Lance be a better version of Trey Lance when he's Brian Greasy? I just don't get it. I'm sorry. I'm going on a rant.
Well, no, I mean it comes right down to there's a lot of offensive coaches in the NFL that don't develop players. It's all about winning games, calling plays, sequencing plays, working on a game plan. And it's not every quarterback that needs lots and lots of development, but they drafted a quarterback that was the most raw quarterback that coming out of college in 40 years. I mean, that should have been like, guys, this isn't like that guy, this guy, that. None of us have ever seen a prospect like this with the upside, but also with the refinement necessary. How are we going to help refine this player? And I really don't like hearing he throws the way he throws, because that takes. I mean, that's like a teacher saying, "Hey, you know what? He learns the way he learns." No, you're the teacher. You got to bring him along. So there's there's been weird vibes. Let's just say that there's been weird dialogue around Trey all off season. There's been weird vibes. I don't know. To be honest, I couldn't sit here and tell you how they feel about him, or how they feel about him short-term, long-term, or what their plan is. And that's amazing to me because we're there all the time.
It's just so obvious to me that Greasy's not invested in Trey. It is painfully obvious that Greasy's not invested in Trey. He says stuff like, I'm so proud of him. Like, he's a Make-A-Wish kid that just wandered into the organization. Like, he's invested in Brock. He helped pick Brock. He's invested in Sam, clearly. He's talking about how good he can be and why he needs to be here. But Trey, it's like, yeah, man, what a good guy who's here for now. Like, and that's too bad. It seemed like the only person, like, remember, when they drafted Trey, it was a mystery to everyone, including most of the people in the organization. It was Kyle's secret. He sprung it on the whole world. We're taking Trey. No one else was invested in the decision except for him. Now, is he even invested in Trey Lance? Like, who in this organization is super behind Trey Lance? I couldn't name one person. And that's too bad. That means that Trey's not going to work out here. It doesn't mean that Trey won't work out. But if that's the case, if this is how the quarterback coach feel, like, it's not going to work out for Trey here. He can't do this all by himself. He legitimately needs a good coach who's in his corner. I'm sorry. Every young quarterback needs that. Brock has it. Apparently Sam Darnold has it now.
Everybody does need an advocate, but it's also things have shifted from, you know what, it's all about Trey and developing Trey to it's all about getting it done and winning and everything else. It's like you develop on your own, show up and be ready. And maybe we're simplifying it. Maybe there's an awful lot of instruction going on behind the scenes, and maybe they're bringing him along. But I'll say this. I almost feel like I'd love to sit there and just say, hey, you know what? Without telling me about his effort or his character, tell me what you like about the player. And I'd love to hear what comes out of anybody's mouth.
Oh, my God.
On there.
Yeah.
Don't tell me
like that.
With no mention of his character, because we all know. The character's strong. We all know. The effort's been done. We get it. Tell me about his football. Tell me about where he is football-wise, and let's put the cards on the table and say it for what it is. Let's stop either trying to protect trade value or feelings or anything else. I don't want to know about his character because I know about his character. I don't want to filibuster about his work ethic. I want to know about his football.
And if you want to pump up his trade value, say something nice. If you can't say anything nice about him in terms of his football skill set, why is he on the team? Cut him. Trade him for a 7th-round pick, because clearly you're not worried about him going somewhere else and being good, right? It seems like to me like the Niners are in this limbo of we don't think he's good, but we also know that we're not good at evaluating quarterbacks or coaching them. So we're afraid that he'll go somewhere else and a better coach will have success with him. Like, okay, so if you're afraid a better coach will have success with him, then coach him.
I just feel
do one of the other. Cut him, keep him.
I feel like they want to stick to a line that they can defend forever, which is, hey, if I speak about his character, I'm on solid ground because I believe in his character. If I talk about his process and his work ethic, I can stick to that. It will last well over time because that's real. But when it comes to his processing, his throwing, his ball handling, his play action fakes, everything that goes along with playing the position of quarterback. If I comment on that, I'm on the record. My professional opinion is on the record, and I got to stand behind that. And I don't feel comfortable standing behind that, so I'm not even going there. That's what I'm reading out of that.
The other thing he kept saying was the mechanical issues for Trey are overblown because the finger really messed everything up. It's like, yeah, the finger messed things up, but the mechanical issues aren't overblown. Okay? That's why he's going to Jeff Christensen, all right? Jeff Christensen didn't say the mechanical issues are overblown. He said it took him 4 days to figure out all the things that were wrong. So if he says that and Brian Griese says they're overblown, I'm thinking Brian Griese, again, not a good coach. Wasn't it? I mean, look, he was an NFL player. I'll give him credit for that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that at 47, 48 years old, he can just hop off the couch and say, I'll give this a try. I don't know. But not with this kind of a project.
Before we condemn Griese, I mean, I know, but I hear you. But look what they got out of a rookie quarterback. Now, how much of that was him? How much of that was Brock's inherent skills?
Well, Brian would want you to think it was him. Brian would want you to think it was him.
But it could be. Yes. It also could be him.
Maybe.
Right? It could be him. I mean, they did get an awful lot. I'll say this too. Under Brian Griese last year, what did we actually get? I felt, and maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like we got the best that we had ever seen out of Jimmy Garoppolo, and we got an unprecedented success out of a 7th round. I mean,
was it Brian or was it Christian McCaffrey?
Even if it was one,
Christian McCaffrey is the quarterback coach on this team.
Well, no, but before even McCaffrey got there, one thing that we got last year out of Garoppolo is the eradication of the negative plays for the most part, because he was throwing that ball into the turf instead of floating that ball in the middle of the field.
You know what Griese's taught him to do?
He was a little bit more disciplined.
You know what Griese's taught him to do? When you throw the pick six, step out of the back of the end zone first so it doesn't count. So it's a safety instead of a pick six. Yeah. No, you're right. Man. Hey, look, I don't want to completely disregard Griese because I don't know.
I thought Garoppolo played his best football because I felt like there was now. Obviously, McCaffrey had a huge impact. And also,
that helps.
And it's not that it didn't have a factor. As soon as McCaffrey was there, then you had a safety valve that after he surveyed the field, he could dump it to McCaffrey, and he saved a lot of negative plays. Instead of, 0 yards.
Forcing it over the middle.
They got 4 yards off a dump off to McCaffrey. So that helped Garoppolo. But I think Garoppolo's just mindset of throw it away. Go to the next play, like Brady, like Breeze, like Rodgers, like so many great quarterbacks. It seemed like he finally kind of cleared that, what I call
Rich Scangarello never got around to teaching how to throw the ball away. Rich Scangarello was awful.
Well, I mean, Jimmy's a great competitor, and it's like part of the mindset of like, hey man, I'm hell bent to make a play is a great mindset for a quarterback. But you're not going if you have 70 offensive snaps in a game, you ain't making 70 plays. There's going to be some negative plays. Throw that ball away.
Let me get back to Brock though. So I feel like he's trying to take credit for Brock, but the way I saw it was all of Brock's best plays were Brock freelancing last year. That's what we all loved about Brock. Brock spinning left, Brock running left, running right, running left, running right, throwing an eye. Like that stuff had nothing to do with Brian Griese. What Brian Griese needed to teach Brock Purdy was to step up in the pocket. That's what he needed to teach him. And clearly he didn't get the message. I mean, no offense to Brock, but his coach threw him under the bus immediately after the game. So he should have stepped up in the pocket. Well, Brian, that's something you could have had a drill on. The drill they do in practice, Jose Batista says, Larry says Lance airmails the warm-up guy. True. It does happen sometimes. It often happens in that opening drill where they have the pads underneath their feet and they're shuffling back and forth, left and right. You know what I'm talking about? I hate that drill. I hate that drill because Trey's issue is he overstrides. So right off, the first drill of the day, you have him overstriding left and right, left and right, left and right, and throwing across the field like, yeah, man, you're reinforcing all of his bad habits. Way to go, Brian Griese. Way to go.
Well, the one thing I've seen is I feel like he drops the elbow a little bit on some of the stuff to the, the 10, 12 yard sideline pass. And when you drop the elbow, he's now not on top of the ball. He's under the ball and the ball's sailing and it's sailing 3-4 yards beyond and it's way high. To me, that's the only thing that I see on that. He seems like mechanically he's not on top of the ball. He's kind of, as soon as he's moving it from the side, the ball kind of takes off, and it is because he's more high than low on the sideline pass. He's not firing that one into the ground. He's firing the one into the ground where he's ripping it in the middle of the field with a lot of arm speed. The sideline passes he's airmailing.
Yeah,
I mean, not consistently.
It happens a lot in that. I'm just telling you, like, it happens a lot in that initial drill with the
Right.
pads underneath. Watch it. I'm telling you, it
Where they're
reinforces
stepping over
all
the
of his
bags.
bad habits. It reinforces all of his bad habits. And maybe there is some good to come out of that drill for other quarterbacks, but for him, I think it's bad, especially to start the day like that. Whatever, but that's Brian Griese's problem. Sorry. Matthew Sanders says, this staff is cowardly. Trey is only quarterback on the roster with potential to go win a Super Bowl. Everything else is lipstick on a pig. No organizational courage. I know why you feel that way. I mean, you mortgaged the future for a guy and then said, you know what? Actually, Brock's the guy. It's like, man, Brock is really good. But you don't know that he's the future, and you mortgage the future for this guy, and it feels like you're kind of washing your hands and talking about Sam Darnold. It feels like a bait and switch to a lot of fans that were like being patient. The organization wasn't patient, but fans were.
Well, I look at it this way. Somebody brought this up the other day, and and at the barber shop, I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. And this guy was like, the barber was like, hey, you know what? I look at Brock Purdy like a 7 in hand, and Trey could be a 2 or a 10, and that they're just now happy with the 7 in hand, and they'll take a chance that he's not going to be the 10.
Who's a 2?
This guy's basically saying that
Tim
don't know.
Tebow was a 3.5.
We don't know if Trey's going to be an NFL
no, I know what he
star or if he's going to be an NFL starter. So, I mean, that was his verbiage. A 10 or a 2, Brock's a known 7. And he's saying the 49ers are just taking the known 7 over a potential 10. And this guy's thought was, I don't fault him. But ultimately, they're wrong if Trey goes somewhere else and becomes a 10. They're right if Trey goes somewhere else and washes out.
Who goes to the club and says, I'm getting myself a 7 tonight? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't go to the club. I'm married. Caesar says, are the Niners in the...
What club are you talking about?
I'm just kidding. Are the Niners in the process of making the Brett Favre mistake with Trey Lance? See, that's what I think they're afraid of. I think they think he's not good, but at the same time, they know their own track record of evaluating their own quarterbacks. Man, if they were good at evaluating their own quarterbacks, Brock would have played a lot earlier last year. Let's be honest.
That's a good mention right there, because what was that? Wasn't that Glanville or June Jones in Atlanta saying, hey, you know what? Favre needs development. And then Green Bay saying, we got Mike Holmgren, come over here and we got the coach for this. We'll smooth out the rough edges on this gunslinger from Southern Miss.
I'm telling you, man.
And a couple years later, the combination of Holmgren and Favre was basically on top of the football world.
Look, I don't know that Trey Lance is going to be elite. I do think he's better than a 2. And I think if you gave him to a coach such as Brian Daboll, he'd be good. I don't know if he'd be elite, but he just might. So Daboll, Andy Reid, there are coaches out there that know what the hell they're doing and have had success. I mean, they better be careful. And that's why that's why he's still on the team. They can say what they want. They can be as nonplussed as they want, but they're not going to let him go just yet because they're scared.
I look at it this way, Grant. I think they only want to. I mean, I think it's a good idea. You only speak positively, basically, about your players. There is no real upside in talking to the media and throwing anything negative. So you stay to the areas where you can be positive. Right. So with Trey, if they don't feel like they can be positive about his football yet, then they're going to hang with his work ethic and his character because they can be positive about that.
You got to find something to be positive about with his football. Otherwise, he can't be on the team. You can't play us all for fools.
Well, there's got to be something. Yeah, there's got to be something, but it doesn't mean they have to share it with us.
Jeff Christensen said he's 50% better than he had some praise. I'm just saying, like, Brian Griese should work a little harder. Mo said, I'm on his ass today. Sorry, Brian. Mo said they sent Trey to John Beck. He's probably awful. John Beck? I don't know. I mean, he's had success with other guys, but apparently he wasn't getting the results with this one. Jesse Naylor says
that was not to interrupt, but that was the other point that came up on the Christensen thing is in the Barrows piece. When I had Barrows on to talk about it, he said that Christensen wouldn't talk about who even hooked him up, like how him and Trey came together. And is that because it's Jimmy? Is that because the Niners didn't want him to work with Christensen? Is that because the Niners wanted him to work with Beck? I mean, there's obviously some behind the scenes,
I think there's something to that. Why all of a sudden did he change his offseason passing coach? All of a sudden, When the last 2 years he was working out with the guy the Niners wanted him to work out with. It seems kind of like, okay, you're going to leave me for dead, then I'm going to work out with this guy. Like, why would you even care, right? You're shopping me, right? I'm going to get traded. I'm going to the Titans, right? No, okay, so I'm going to work out with this guy. All of a sudden, I get results. I come back and they're like, you know what? We're going to have a quarterback competition. Like, yeah, I bet you are.
And maybe that's why they're on the, hey, you know what? You throw the way you throw. Because ultimately they're like, you know what? It's not about Beck. It's not about Christensen. It ain't about a quarterback coach. It's about the quarterback.
Oh, I can't coach this. Like, I can't try. I tried, can't do it. Maybe Jeff Christensen can. It's on you. And we have to win the Super Bowl this year. So let's see how much improvement you've made. Pretty much. Last Second Sports.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I
was just going to say, and maybe, I mean, from their perspective, maybe 99% of all quarterbacks at this point in their development, the way they throw is the way they throw. But they drafted an anomaly, and they drafted the exception to the rule. Right. And I think that they ought to, kind of acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And see, like, it's not about healing most people.
Right.
It's about healing this person.
So you drafted a project. You knew he was a project. You thought you had the coaches to develop him. You don't, but you're afraid that other teams do. That's the position you're in with Trey Lance right now. It's a scary position because you feel like there's nothing you can do with him. Like, you're more intrigued about Sam Darnold working out here than Trey Lance, because Sam Darnold you think only needs a change of scenery, where Trey Lance needs a change of mechanics, and you can't do that for him, but other coaches can. So you're scared. What are you going to do? Trade him for a sixth? Maybe not. Because that could end up looking really bad. So you just hold on to him and hold on to him and hold on to him. And what you do eventually is just waste this dude's freaking early 20s. Like, I feel bad. This is why I feel bad for Trey. He didn't ask to come to this team. He was put in an impossible position. They got him injured. And they're just going to put him on ice forever. And eventually he'll go to a team at 24, 25. I hadn't played since 19. Like, God, that sucks.
The most interesting part about it is when we've asked Trey at different points, hey, would you like to be elsewhere?
No.
You can't even get that question out. And he's like, no. I want to be here. I want to be here.
If you were his agent, wouldn't you tell him to say that? You don't want him looking like a malcontent when he hasn't played since 2019.
No. And also, it looks like you're running from the problem. Right. Like, they're the problem. If you say, I want to be here, you're taking ownership of your play and responsibility. And I think that's the route I would go to.
Me too. Jesse Naylor, Last Second Sports. Arrogance for the Niners' lack of effort in the quarterback position continues to show. Brian told on the team and himself. First young quarterback I've ever coached. That's the other thing I wanted to say. So I asked Brian Greasy, you mentioned that you've been talking a lot to Brock Purdy about, things he needs to work on, and that he'll be the first one to tell you what that stuff is. Like, do you feel that he's better at receiving feedback than most young quarterbacks? I thought it was a good question. And he gives me this look and he goes, I don't know. He's the first young quarterback I've ever coached. And then he moves on. It's like, okay, no, he's not. Like, what about Trey Lance? What are we doing here, man? Did they not hire you to coach that guy? I'm so confused. He's the first young quarterback I coached. Like, did you literally forget Trey Lance is on the team, dude? What are you talking about?
That sounds like a dodge.
Super dodge.
He
dodged it. But he didn't think about what his words meant. He dodged it.
In one way, it reminds you how inexperienced he is as a coach. But you also have this other young quarterback here, and you're his coach.
Yeah, dude. Anyway, Irfan Mirza says, if BP isn't able to play this year and Trey and Sam struggle, do you think SF would sign Jim? Dude, if they sign Jimmy Garoppolo next year, fire Kyle Shanahan, man. At what point are we going to be like, no more, dude? You're a hell of a coach, but you couldn't find a quarterback if your life depended on it. Sorry. No. That can't happen.
No Jimmy G, please.
No Jimmy G. Joseph Stockbridge says, I bought a Lance jersey with faith in him because a blank canvas is made for artists. There are no quarterback artists on this team, though. They're frauds in that department. I think they're outing themselves. I would have to agree, man. Again, let's be fair, because it's a great coaching staff. Bobby Turner, Chris Forrester, Chris Kasarik, Johnny Holland, Steve Wilkes. Geniuses at their respective positions. They don't have that guy at quarterback on this team. It wasn't Scangarello, it wasn't Shane Day, it's not Greasy.
I mean, I'll say this, though. We've all had the teacher. I've been teaching this third grade for 27 years. You know what? At that point, you don't even see the kids. You're just seeing that kid's got this personality type and this personality type. So I don't know that the experience factor. Not necessarily. You could have the most conscientious kid.
You talk to Bobby Turner. I mean, that guy seems like he really, really knows his players.
He does
on a personal level and can actually develop his young running backs.
And he holds them to ridiculously high standards.
Yes,
and if it's his way or the highway, I'm not sure if he's the most flexible coach that ever walked the earth. But he's
why should he be?
A lot of success.
Terrell Davis, yeah, absolutely. All he has to do is, do you want me to coach you or not? What do you think? And worked for Terrell.
Yeah.
Al Ace is not a fan of Hargrave at OTAs. Yeah, I thought you might just show up. Your first impression. But hey, I mean, if they don't even know who their quarterback is, well, I'm just saying, man. Is that disconcerting if you're 30, 35, and they're having a quarterback competition at OTAs? You know what? Maybe I'll just stay home. You let me know when you figure that out. I'm too old for this. I mean,
you know, to me, it's also kind of like, you know what? After you've been to OTAs, I mean, what are you getting done at OTAs? You know, you're showing your coaches that you're in shape. You're doing mental reps, but I mean, I think it's a simplistic system they have anyway on their defensive front. I'm not worried about Hargrave.
I mean, if you want to be a leader of the team, you show up like Fred Warner did. And
I hear you, but you know what? That's one less practice that Hargrave can tear something and be out.
No, I mean, you could show up and stand there and do nothing like Fred Warner did, but I mean, Fred Warner probably lives out here. Does Hargrave live out here? Probably not. And then do you really want to live at the Marriott for a week or 3 weeks in Santa Clara? Probably not. So that's probably what it is.
But when you get the bag, there is some responsibility too. I mean, he probably should be. He should show his face, but he'll be there this week. He'll be there this week.
Yeah, he will. He will. I don't think will Bosa be there? Will he come to mandatory minicamp, or will they give him
Bosa will be there this week too.
You think he will?
Yeah, he'll be there, but he won't. He won't be doing anything. I don't think Bosa's going to move a finger on the field until that deal gets done.
All right, give me a bold prediction for this offseason. Like, it starts in a couple of days, and they get about 7-8 weeks off, and then training camp starts. Give me a bold prediction.
Ronnie Bell is going to be a significant receiver for them this year.
Yeah, he needs to quit dropping the ball. Man, that was disappointing.
He had a bad second OTA.
But he gets a lot of targets. Clearly, they trust him. It happens.
In doing the deep dive on the scouting report on Ronnie Bell, his dad is the wide receiver coach at Southwest Missouri State.
Oh,
that's why Ronnie Bell, to me, looks like an instructional video on how to play receiver.
I saw your son compare him to Amon-Ra St. Brown and Cooper Kupp. Amon-Ra St. Brown, like physically, very similar. I can see that. So that's a good.
How about Cooper Kupp? What is Cooper Kupp? 4'6"?
He's about 6'2", though. He's about 6'2". But in terms of height, weight, speed.
Yeah, Ronnie Bell doesn't look like much, but I mean, he had a couple drops in this last practice.
He gets open.
The ball skills are off the charts, and his ability to bounce back off the ACL from the
Jawan Jennings drops a bunch of passes in practice too. It doesn't mean he's has bad hands.
Just saying, Ronnie Bell. I really hated that pick when I saw it. I'm like, what? Why? I don't get it. I get it now. I do get it. I really like Ronnie Bell. And the other bold prediction I'll make is I think Jair Brown is going to take the job away from Gibson this summer. Yeah. I think Jair Brown's your free safety starter week 1. That'd be my prediction.
If Gibson misses a week of practice, if he gets a groin injury, a hamstring, if he misses it's over. I would agree. He's going to have to play lights out to keep this job. And frankly, a 33-year-old DB probably is going to get nicked up at some point. So, yeah, I would say it's a matter of time for him. I got a bold prediction. Go
ahead.
They're going to trade Brock Purdy. I'm just kidding. They're going to I don't think Drake Jackson's going to get that job. Looking at him, it looks like he's put on weight, but not necessarily a ton of muscle. They're saying he's bench pressing 315 2 or 3 times. That doesn't sound like a starting NFL defensive end. I bet you Cleveland Farrell's a whole lot stronger than that. So I'm guessing they give him all offseason, and then ultimately they sign a defensive end such as Leonard Floyd or Yannick Ngakoue. I think they're going to do it the way they signed Tashawn Gibson in training camp last year.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to get the job.
That is bold.
I don't think he's going to get it.
I'll make one.
Were you there with Kasarik? I don't think you were there with Kasarik, but he talked for like 8 minutes.
I came in, I looked at the room, and there was like 18 people around Chris, and I was like, I want to hear from Chris, but then so I went to Johnny and Bullock.
Well, here's my impression of what he said about Drake, since I had to take all these things down. He basically implied that Drake's work ethic last year was terrible and that now it's good. And it's like, if he just started working out, lifting every day, it sounded like he was lifting like 1 day a week last year during this season. Because he kept saying, It can't just be 1 day a week. And this year he's stacking days. It's like, okay, well, that sounds like you might be another year away. And he even said some young players make their biggest leaps between years 2 and 3. It's like, oof. So I don't know that he's there, and he's still pretty young. Is he 21? Is he? How old is he?
He's very young. How old's Drake?
He is
Drake
20. He just turned 22. He just turned 22, so he's younger than Trey. So I wouldn't necessarily pencil him in as a 3-down D end on this team. Just like he just hit the 3-plate club on the bench. Like that doesn't really sound like a starting lineman in the NFL. Yet.
No, and I'll say this: he doesn't look as ripped as I thought he would look. No. He's definitely looks like he could lean out a little bit, but to me, he's flying off the edge. It's about to me, his weightlifting is about his confidence. His confidence is sky high. Now we'll see what happens when they get with the Raiders and they're practicing against another team, and we'll see what it looks like in the preseason. But his confidence is off the charts. Right
and
now,
he doesn't have to be a 3-down guy. He just has to rush the quarterback.
I don't see anybody that really challenge him. I mean, Farrell's got 10 sacks in 4 seasons or something like that. Hyder's not an end. Beal looks like a situational guy. He wasn't even a full-time guy at Georgia. Austin Bryant's got skinny legs. Barrett was a practice squad guy. So unless somebody else is coming in from the outside, I don't see anybody that can take that job away from Drake currently. But if
they
you
need
say
someone
Leonard
who can
Floyd,
set the edge. They need someone who can set the edge because he can't. I don't think Drake's going to be able to. Like, I still don't think he's strong enough. He might be a pass rusher on 3rd downs. I'm skeptical about that. But as an edge setter like Samson Ebukam, I don't think he can do it yet. I think Cleveland Farrell would be stronger against the run and will probably end up starting over Drake Jackson. That's my prediction. Unless they bring in someone like Yannick.
I'll make a bold prediction. I think the kid they got undrafted out of North Dakota State, Wagee, is going to factor in on 1st and 2nd down at defensive end opposite Bosa.
Interesting. I like that. You've been all over him. He does seem like a good athlete. Those are some good, bold predictions. Jahudi Mott says, who is going to develop Purdy besides Purdy? Man, that was deep. That's a good question, man.
I would drink no wine before it's time.
I don't know. They outsourced that on the 49ers, but it does seem like Purdy has a good team of people around him. He seems like he definitely has a good team of people, so I wouldn't worry about that.
He's going to be in Jacksonville, I believe, the next month. They'll be developing there. I mean, the one thing that I think has to be acknowledged here is that Brock Purdy is going to develop a lot more. He barely knew the offense. Like when I asked him, where are you compared this year compared to last year at this time? He's like, oh, it's night and day. So night and day is night and day.
That's true.
So I want to see what
the complication with the complication in pro sports though is as you improve, the scouting report against you improves as well, and it's a constant battle. But that's what makes sports fun. And I'm not saying he won't. But I mean, like if you look at Willie McCovey, it's before my time. His best year in the pros, his rookie year, and it didn't mean that he got worse. It just means that people got a better look at him, and then he had to deal with that.
He won the MVP in '69, though.
I'm just saying, a Hall of Fame player. I'm not saying that he was a flash in the pan, but statistically, his best year was his rookie year. And why did that happen? Because that happens in sports sometimes. Sometimes guys struggle at first. Sometimes guys hit the ground running, and it takes a minute for the league to catch up to them. What are they doing?
But think about it this way. Kyle Shanahan's offense is also thought to be very complex. Look at the difference between Matt Ryan year 1, Matt Ryan stats year 2 in that same offense. When you look at that, and then you hear people talk about the complexity of Kyle's offense and all the shifts and motions, everything there is to learn. And then the regular development that you have year 1 to year 2, and then you're the quarterback year 1 to year 2. I think people who feel like, Brock's totally a finished product. He's a finished product compared to Trey Lance. He's a finished product compared to a lot of rookie quarterbacks, but that's far different than a finished product.
But people still remember Jimmy Garoppolo getting traded here, learning enough of the playbook in a month, winning 5 games. Like people remember that. And he came back down to earth because for the same reason. The league got to look at him. They're like, okay, you're limited. You can't do this. You can't do this. Got it. All right. So now we're going to do this. I mean, and then ultimately he couldn't overcome the book on him. I mean, I don't think he can. We'll see with Brock. What I think is interesting about what Greasy's basically saying is that, Brock's good. He's poised. He's mobile. He's got a good escapability. He's accurate, but we want him better in the pocket. We want him to be a better pocket quarterback. That's where they stand with him. And I don't know. I mean, maybe they're being too hard on him. But he did not step up in the pocket on that play, and Kyle immediately blamed him for it. And he is a little small. I mean, maybe he's not the kind of guy who does step up in the pocket. Maybe he's always going to be the guy who backs out of it, like Kyler Murray. Don't know. In which case, maybe that's why Brian Greasy is so intrigued with Sam Darnold, and his.
Well, I mean, if all the years watching Steve Young, Joe Montana, all the great quarterbacks you can think of, how many of them tried to escape out the back door?
It's a bad habit.
And I think it's things like it's moments like that they're pointing to and saying, "Hey, look, we're going to eradicate this part of his game. We're going to, try to work on other aspects." But there's some. I mean, come on, we're talking about we're talking about a 23-year-old player. So he's going to get better. I mean, he's going to get, and he's not totally arrived. I mean, I think that's normal. I don't find it abnormal to say that, man, Brock has not hit the ceiling, because realistically, I don't even know that he knew the entire scope of the offense last year.
That's true. That's fair. I think what's sad about what happened to Brock is that damn injury. That really sucks. I feel bad for Brock, because now you don't know what that arm's going to be like. Hopefully it's no issue for him. Definitely rooting for him to make a full recovery.
And not just hopefully. If his arm loses zip, his whole dynamic,
super sad.
I mean, his whole winning equation could break down if he can't throw the deep out.
Then he would just be the next young quarterback that Kyle Shanahan ruined, honestly. From RG3 to this kid. Like, I feel, Brock, praying for you, dude. Hope you make it back. We all like you and root for you. Sometimes people think that, like, I'm like rooting against him. I'm dug in on Trey. Like, I don't care. I'm not rooting for Trey. I do feel like Trey's gotten a raw deal, but now I feel bad for Brock too. Like, he's under the knife after 8 starts, and that's a disturbing trend for Kyle's young quarterback. So, Brock, wishing you all the best, baby.
I mean, I think you, like a lot of people, like a lot of the fans too, are invested in the idea that Trey Lance was brought here to be the face of the franchise,
win a Super Bowl,
to elevate
you over the hump
to the top tier quarterbacks, and to be the face of this franchise for
give you something you didn't have at the quarterback position. Take you something new.
And there's a lot of people that don't feel comfortable moving off that,
especially after 4 starts. I mean, it'd be one thing if it's like, compare the Jets and the Niners. Okay, Robert Saleh and Kyle Shanahan. Robert Saleh goes to the Jets. They hire they draft Zach Wilson ahead of Trey Lance. And he's really rejected more than Trey. Like, he plays 20-something games. He loses a lot. His locker room rebels against him. They make T-shirts about the back. No one did that to Trey here. They wrap their arms around him. They keep him on the team. They bring in Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Like, here, he's only had 4 starts. And now you're talking about Sam Darnold is better than him. Like, I don't know. It just feels like, I don't know.
Well, in a way, it's the same thing, right? It's like the Jets got to look at Zach Wilson. Did they release him? No.
They got 20 games look, though.
But did they pawn him off for a 5th-round pick? No. He's just still there on their roster. But are they leaning on him? No. And the Niners did the exact same thing. Trey's on their roster. They're not leaning on him. And
but they replaced him for Aaron Rodgers. He started 22 games, and they replaced him with Aaron Rodgers. Like, Trey Lance started 4. And they're replacing him with a guy who started 8.
But who also didn't lose a game except for the Philly game.
Jimmy went 16-2 to start his career. Like, I don't want to hear about the win-loss. I love Brock. But I'm saying, like, it's a huge unknown what they're doing. They didn't pivot to a Hall of Fame quarterback. They pivot to another young quarterback that had a nice start to his career, a great start to his career.
I think they look at Brock
still unknowns.
Brock to them is like literally walking down Market Street and there goes $100 bill blowing in the wind. Oh, look at that. Look at that. $100 bill.
That's great. That's great. But that doesn't mean that you're rich now. You just have $100. Like, you don't quit your job because you found a freaking $100 bill. You still work, baby. I'm sorry. Let's keep going. I got a question for you. Is the Niners' offensive line a strength or a weakness?
It's often discussed as a weakness, but let's go through it. You got the best left tackle in pro football, if you still believe he's at that level. That's debatable. Then you got Banks and Burford, who to me look like absolute 10-year starter, building block behemoths at guard. I love that guard tandem. And then the center was a Pro Bowl alternate. Now, I think there's more powerful centers. I think you could upgrade there. But then you also bring in a guy like Feliciano to kind of supplement what you have. You got some other young players. It's really, I think, a very good line. And then Colton McKivitz is a question mark. But you know what? The Eagles have an awesome line too, and they just changed out their right guard. So they got an awesome line and a question mark. I just think the Niners line gets maligned a little bit too easily. And if we actually went, you say, okay, it's not a very good line. The Niners don't have a very good line. I've heard lots of people throw that out as the premise of their point. The line sucks, but Trent Williams is the best. The center is a borderline Pro Bowler. The guards are probably foundation pieces for the next decade. So are we saying this line sucks because we have this terrible feeling about McKivitz? And who I personally think, if I was going on another bold prediction, I don't think they're going to miss McGlinchey at all. I really don't. I don't think McGlinchey I don't think what they lose in the run game with McGlinchey is going to be like, oh my God. McKivitz is a disaster blocking against the run. I think McKivitz is going to be cheaper. I think he's going to be a better pass protector, and it's a passing league. So I don't see the Niners offensive line as horrible. I see the Niners offensive line as kind of more mid, but if you go position by position, I don't really have a problem with any of the guys other than I'd love to have McKivitz in an ideal world in a utility role. And I'd like to have like a big time, mid first round pick right tackle. Other than that, I kind of like the line.
I don't like it. I think it's a weakness.
Who don't you like?
It's definitely not a strength. I mean, Trent Williams wasn't in shape to start last season. He doesn't come to OTAs. He tries to work himself into shape. He gets injured early in the year. I mean, yeah, he's still really good, but he's not what he used to be. Aaron Banks, I'm not certain he's going to get a second contract with this team. Brendel's decent. Not sure why he was a Pro Bowl alternate. That escaped me. Like, he's decent. Burford, don't know that he's going to get a second contract with the team. And McKivitz, like, you have one first round pick on your offensive line. That's what you got. Like, when the Niners had Kaepernick, when the Niners went to the Super Bowl, they had 3 first-round picks on their offensive line. That was the best offensive line in the league. That was a strength. You had Staley, Upati, Anthony Davis in their primes. That was a really good offensive line. And there are other offensive lines like that Detroit has 3 first-round picks. I just feel like the Niners, it's well coached.
Blue chipper.
It's well coached. It's well coached.
Yeah, that's
they punch above their weight.
Good coach.
They punch above their weight, but it's like, what do you really expect, man? I mean, you got 4th round pick, you got a late 2nd round pick, you got an undrafted free agent, you got a 5th round pick. Like, yeah, it's okay. It's all right. It could be better if they actually invested in it.
I like Banks. I like Burford. I'm not sure about Brendel, and I'm not sure about Trent, as far as how much more does he have? Where exactly is he? He's thought of as the best, but is that like a yesteryear kind of a rep and he's no longer that player? Yeah. I could see that argument. I'd listen to that argument. Brendel to me is a little underwhelming. McKivitz, I could see is just an okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if Feliciano takes that job from him. Like, let's see Brendel do it again. Let's see him do it again.
But the fact that they have Feliciano, I think, is a good thing too. I think they're fortified there. So I look at center as you got Brendel and Feliciano. I look at
Zakel.
Zakel had 2 fumbled snaps, but I like Zakel as a prospect. I mean, he's smart, he's tough, he's physical.
Guard.
Probably a guard. Joey, I thought it was interesting when I asked Forster about it. They said they were bringing in Fisher as a tackle / guard. He's like, he's a guard. I mean, I couldn't even get the question out, and he's like, guard. He's not a center, not a tackle. So to me, they're a little thin at right tackle. But besides that, I kind of like the line. I don't think it's that bad.
The coach says, Larry, the question was, is the Niners offensive line a strength or a weakness as opposed to our team? Not good or bad. Don't deflect.
First of all, it was my question. I'm the one who came up with this question. But I think it's closer to a strength than a weakness. And we obviously just have a difference of agreement here. I do.
It's the weakest position group on the offense.
I would say the tight ends. I would say the tight ends behind Kittle are really weak. I don't like the tight ends behind Kittle, to be honest. That would be my
shots concern. Fired at Cam Latu.
Yeah,
it's been a 3rd round pick on a number 2 tight end. It's been a 3rd round pick on a number 2 tight end. That's a pretty high investment.
I know. I've been honing in on him. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing what the strength is. Now I talked to Fleury, the tight end coach, and he's talking about there's development there. He really loves Braden Willis. I'll say if I was making another bold prediction, I would put Willis as their 2 tight end. But I'm not a Warner guy. I don't think he moves anybody on the line of scrimmage. he's more of a try-hard guy, not a dwelly guy. I think he's a liability as a blocker and just okay as a receiver. I don't see if Kittle was down for a month, they would be damaged.
How many teams in the NFL would Colton McKivitz start for?
I don't know. Probably not too many. Probably not more than 5 or 6.
And that's a problem when you're a Super Bowl contender. Like, why is Colton McKivitz starting for you? He wouldn't even start for the Rams. Like, what?
This all stems back to the Solomon Thomas, Javon Kinlaw. They prioritized D-line over O-line, and then they whiffed on Solly. And so instead of going Wirfs, they went Kinlaw. That should have been Wirfs, and it should have been Wirfs there. And if they had Wirfs, they've been. But instead,
then it would definitely be a strength.
They had to keep going D-line, and now they've got to go fill in with more of a utility type player. But before we lose our minds, they did get to the NFC Championship game with Tom Compton, and I think McKivitz is clearly a better prospect than Compton. That's my thought.
Shots fired at Tom Compton. Didn't think we would go there today, but
no, I like Tom Compton, but I like McKivitz. I'm not. It's
very
funny.
Different.
Yeah,
Tom Compton was a legitimately good run blocker that year. He's just horrendous in pass protection. I think McKivitz is going to be better in pass protection than Tom Compton, but he can't run like Tom. Tom is like Forrest Gump. Like, that boy can run. That man can run. He's like 33.
I don't think anybody's ever going to be impressed by McKivitz.
I'm impressed by Tom Compton. I have a Tom Compton jersey. Wear it around town.
But I think he could be effective. Let's just say that. I don't think he's going to be overwhelming. I think you'll always be looking to upgrade. And I think in an ideal world, McKivitz is your sixth lineman, right? He's the guy that comes off the bench and can play anywhere.
Ideally, but not on this team. He's starting.
On this team, he's starting right tackle.
Oof. Brother Rob says, Grant, you still think Brock is Jimmy Garoppolo 2.0 with noodle arm? I mean, look, I'm sorry. It hurts people's feelings. I'm not trying to be mean to Brock. Brock is a really good player. But after all the nice things you say about Brock, and there's a lot of them, he still has the weakest arm of all the starting quarterbacks in the league. And you could say it doesn't matter. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, he was still 8-0. He was. So you could project into the future and say it's going to catch up to him or not. And we don't even know what the arm he could come back stronger. He could come back stronger. We don't know. But you have to say he has the weakest arm of all the starting quarterbacks. Does it matter? I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, ultimately, anybody.
Jeff Garcia thinks it doesn't matter. Kurt Warner thinks it doesn't matter. The Niners think it don't. So we'll see. I mean, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not writing him off. He's here for a while. He'll get his chance.
Scoreboard.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's all he has to say, man.
33 game.
No doubt. James Durnall says, do you see BP captain after they denied Trey Lance last year? Good question.
Who were the captains? Or does this team have captains, or is it just that committee?
Yeah, they have captains. No,
they do have captains?
They have 7 captains. Yeah, they do. I forget who the captains
are.
So
who are they?
They haven't had that'd be a good question.
Armstead?
I don't know. Armstead.
Warner.
Bosa. Warner.
Jimmy Ward last year, probably.
Yeah, Jimmy Ward. I forget. Fred. We got Fred Warner.
Flanagan
Kittle?
Fowles, maybe?
Kittle. Not Flanagan Fowles.
Well, maybe special team captain. Who was the special teams captain?
I don't think they had one. Grant, shots fired by Larry. No defense for your guy, Dwelly. Let's hear it, Grant. USD's finest. I know. I mean, that was just uncalled for. I really would like to see Ross Dwelly go to a team that throws the ball because he's on this run-first team. He's not a blocker. He has
glorified receiver.
He's elite hand-eye coordination. He runs a 5-1. Literally. Like, he runs a 5-1. But he catches the ball and gets open somehow, some way. So I'd like to see him go to a team that throws.
I mean, he's a success story. And I have recognized that. He was a Torero, and he's had an entire NFL career. So he's a success story.
And he's been on the team this long because they know he's an NFL player. They just re-signed him this year. If they cut him, he will end up on another team. And I hope he does because they're not going to use him on this freaking team.
Well, and he's got Jimmy killed one time. He looks, to me, going from Dwelly to Croft is an upgrade in blocking, and that says it all.
Yeah, remember how the 49ers used to use Garrett Selleck in 2017? They called it Selleck time. It was like, look, he's so slow that you're not going to cover him. So we're going to throw it to him one time a game, and it's going to be a 30-yard touchdown. And it's going to be hilarious. And they did it a lot. I always thought they could do that with Dwelly. It's like, no one's covering him. No one's thinking about him. But he'll catch the ball. He'll get open. It'll be a big play. It could have been dwelly time. It never was dwelly time. It should have been dwelly time. And I lament the fact that it wasn't.
Willis, I think, takes his job. That would be my guess this summer. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But that would be my guess.
Yeah. Larry bet me pig in a pickle that Lance will reclaim QB1. Did he? Pig in a pickle. You mean you just betting pig in a pickle because they just give you free stuff?
No, he's asking me. He's asking me.
Okay.
He's like, Larry, please bet me.
Well, go on his channel and propose the bet.
Yeah, brother Bob.
Yeah.
Thanks for the super.
All right, it's 11 o'clock.
I don't need. Last time I bet somebody, it didn't turn out well.
Yeah, man, we gotta take our emotions out of these sports takes. I really don't care. I try to laugh through it. I really don't care. If you ever see me getting upset about a sports take of mine, please slap me in the face, because I don't care.
Have you ever blocked a 49er content creator on Twitter?
Hell yeah.
You have?
Some guys I used to work with after last year, after that Kinlaw stuff. But nah.
Oh, really? That was bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people not on the team anymore.
Oh, that was the other one that we didn't hit today that I thought was the most interesting part of the coaching thing is that Kocurek is now. Am I butchering? How do you pronounce Kocurek?
I believe it's
is it Kocurek?
No.
Kocurek?
See, now you got me confused. Is it Kocurek? I think it's Kocurek. Kocurek.
Kocurek. He says that Javon Kinlaw, this is the quote. This is the first offseason since we've had Javon that he's been able to start the offseason healthy and actually stack days on top of each other. And we've been going for a while now, and he's been continuously stacking days. If you just go back to his career, his rookie year was the coronavirus year, where I didn't see him until the first day of camp. Then he shows up. He tries to, as a rookie, come in with really no offseason and go through a camp. Brain was spinning and just trying to line up the defense and all that stuff. Then he got hurt late in his rookie year. He kind of went into the next offseason where he's rehabbing. He basically said this is the first year that Javon Kinlaw is physically right. Is there any chance that the Kinlaw that we've seen to date is not the Kinlaw that we see going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he just needed to stay healthy so he could improve in practice because he has a really good coach. And the coach is telling you, like, the guy hasn't been here. Like, he wasn't here the first offseason. He wasn't here second offseason. He wasn't here third offseason. He hasn't had a chance to get the Chris Kocurek effect. My only thing with Kinlaw at this point is, even if the knee holds up, like, how much weight did he lose to get to a point where there's not too much force on this knee? Like, it seemed like they drafted him, he was 325. Now he looks like he's 295 or 285.
He looks really lean.
Really lean. So what is his skill set now? But I mean, honestly, like, anything is better than what he was giving when he was injured. Like, he was injured before. So if he could just be healthy, stay on the field, he might actually be I don't know about an impact player, but a contributor for them.
Or, here's my question that I would love to ask Chris. Did you guys tell Javon to get this lean, or did he just look at Javon Hargrave and the money that he got, and he knows he's a pass rusher and says, screw it, I'm going to be a pass rusher. I'm going to get as lean as I can get. Is it Kinlaw observing Hargrave's money saying, I want some of that? Or did the Niners have a game plan and say, no, 320 is not working for you because you're not functionally strong there. So let's lean out and let's play you in a rotation and let's try to get to the quarterback a little bit more this year. That's the answer.
Or maybe running on a 325-pound frame hurt his knee.
Right.
Maybe that was painful. Maybe he just can't do that. I don't know.
Because at the end of last year, Javon's production seemed to deteriorate. Like his best game was his first game, and then it got worse. So maybe it was the knee. Maybe
it was definitely the knee.
the chronic pain. So who knows? But he is a guy, better or for worse, and I'm really eager to see what he puts on the field this summer, because he's got talent. He's got talent. There's
got the work ethic. He's got the drive. I mean, it's interesting. Compare him to Drake Jackson. Drake Jackson is like figuring it out. You look at his body, you're like, not yet. You look at Javon Kinlaw's body, there's no question there. He's got the work ethic. He's got the body. He's got the athleticism. It's just like, will his knee hold up long enough for him to improve under a great coach? So far, the answer has been no, and it's a shame. But this year, he's been out. We see every day we're out there, he's out there. It wasn't always like that in the past. So it's like a so far so good situation.
I would love it.
I'm rooting for him.
Love it. Oh, I mean, I am too. And I would love it if Chris is right. I mean, could you imagine if the 49ers show up this summer and Drake and Kinlaw are ballers,
Yeah, that would be found money.
that's
Talk
gonna
about found money, right?
that's gonna be a significant moment.
Adrian Aguilar says, "Hey Grant, will you ever go live with Rob Shu again? Y'all had great segments." Thinking no. Bobby D.
What happened there? Anything? No.
Not worth talking about. Did the Niners make you stop working with Sybil? Wow, we're really going over. No. Can we stop with the drama? Hey, no, but we gotta end this.
People love drama, man.
People love drama. Let's stop with the drama. I love all my content creators that I work with. It's 11 o'clock on a beautiful day in the Bay. Let's go outside, everyone. Thanks for watching. Are you streaming today or are you going outside? You touching grass? What are we doing?
I got my 13-year-old Grant's playing baseball this afternoon. The most fun moment of my week is to watch my kids play ball, and I'll be out there.
What position you play? What position?
He plays second, and he plays a little outfield, and I'm proud of him. I think right now I'm going to go take him to the batting cage out in Concord, so maybe he'll have some success against some of these.
I moved to the outfield when I was 13. Because at 13, kids can finally hit it to the outfield. And I like running as opposed to shuffling. Nothing against infield. There's action in the infield. But there's action in the outfield, too.
It's funny. Isn't that funny? It's like when you're in Little League, like, let's say 11 and under, outfield is like where you put the kids who can't play. Then suddenly, you better have some good outfielders or everybody's hitting home
center
run.
field. Especially center field. If you don't have a guy who can catch gap to gap, you're screwed. And I moved to center field at 13. I love that position. I freaking love it. I got the big 13-inch glove that you wear like on the end of your fingers, so you can good time. The six finger Ichiro glove, good time.
There was a game last weekend. I felt so bad. It wasn't my kid. The right fielder guy hits a drive to right center. Right fielder's on the dead run. He's got his glove extended. He's running. He's looking. Boom! Right off the head.
Oh no! The Jose Canseco.
Off the head.
That happens to kids, and then they never play. They'll go home crying. They never play outfield.
And the coach goes, terrible. "Hey, you okay?" And of course, the kid's more disgusted with himself. He's like, "No, we're at the age now where he's like, I'm fine. Okay. I'm fine. I'm freaking fine."
That happened in the infield too, though. But when you miss, it hits you in the where, and it hurts. It'll either get you in the face or the jewels, and neither one is fun. So screw the infield, man. Screw the infield.
Screw catching.
Anyway,
catching's
screw catching. I would have loved to be a pitcher, but I didn't throw that hard. Couldn't do it. Center field was fun. My favorite thing about baseball was playing center field and stealing bases.
Here's the ultimate question. The ultimate question. Was Lowell verbal or quiet?
No.
At your game?
Super quiet. He was not the
Grant.
No, he never said a damn word.
Good.
And the best thing he ever did for me was get me Shooty as a batting coach when I was 15. I was a terrible hitter, but by the time I was 17, I could drive the ball to right center. I was proud of that. It's not easy to drive the ball to right center.
Mac Shooty Babbitt.
He's a hell of a hitting coach. Had me hitting like Ricky Henderson by the time I was real low in a wide. It was cool. Thank you, Shooty.
Another super on the way out.
Oh, I got another one. All right. Alan Jazz Party says, Grant, you're not Man City. You actually have some decent competition if the Niners go to crap. Jesse has Last Second Sports too. Genius. I don't understand any of that. Alien Jazz channel. Party. Yeah. If they go to crap, they won't. They'll be in the mix forever.
Oh, they're not going to be that bad.
They're going to be good.
The Niners, they've got the highest odds of going to the Super Bowl out of the NFC right now.
All right. Let's go have a good day. Thank you, Larry. Thanks for everyone for watching. I'll see you guys later.